We are back with the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. It is Friday. It's been the last podcast for a while. Got paternity leave next week, so everything is up to Gordon. Everything's up to Gordon. The success or failure of this podcast for next week and then in subsequent weeks when I'm off as well will be in the hands of Mr. Mack, longtime track and field media veteran. Good luck, Gordon.
You having a baby? Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
I'll be there. Boy.
Do you have a name?
Yes. Rounding out the crew. Do you have a name? Could change. There's been some 11th hour changes in the past. Yeah, I'll wait till next
1 yard line
time I'm on the show. Yeah, she came up to me a couple of days ago because we thought we had settled on one. And then she said, how about, and then she said another name. And I thought, wait, are we changing this now? I thought we had already agreed. She's like, yeah, I know. I just throwing that out there. You never can be too sure with kid number one. Oh, some people don't even decide when they're in the hospital, and they'll just write it down as baby Mac or whatever. Just your baby and then your last name. Yeah. You can wait. Sometimes people want to see the baby because they're like, oh, what do they look like? Which I thought is weird because the answer to that is always like, they look like a baby. It's not like, oh, it looks like an Allison or, oh, it looks like a Matt. It just looks like a baby. The previous two had names going in, went in there, executed the plan, named them the names, and then off the races. Because you got to do all the stuff with registering them for this and getting on your insurance and Social Security and blah, blah. You don't want anything to hold it up of like, I don't know what the name is. That's just a little parenting tip here in the beginning of the show for those folks out there who don't have kids yet. Try to know the name ahead of time.
Pre-made.
Yeah.
Do you think isn't it kind of weird that like you're like the name is like something that they get forever? It's like a decision you guys like just think about. Like, oh, let's call it Jack. All right, yeah. Jack it is, and then that's his name for life.
You kind of want to consult with them, but you can't.
Yeah.
One of a friend of mine from way back, I saw a post. He recently had a kid, and he had this paragraph-long post on Instagram about the meaning of the name, and this is what it means in this language, and this is what it means in this language, and this proverb, it traces back to all this. And it was great. It all made sense and connected. My previous two kids, we just liked the sound of the name. They thought the name was cool. So if our kids ever come to us and say, hey, what does our name mean in Gaelic? I'm not going to know. I'm just going to say, hey, I looked up the Social Security list of top 1,000 baby names last year, and I wanted something in the 50 to 100 range. We wanted the initials to make sense or whatever, and off and running. Like some people put way more time into it than others. We just were like, okay. Like with my daughter's name, in my opinion, girls' names are a lot easier to come up with than boys' names, but that's for a different podcast. I had a list of about 10 acceptable names, and I had no way to narrow them down. So I would text my friends every week on a group chat and be like, all right, each week you can, Survivor style, you can eliminate one name until we got down to 4. So I let them narrow it down to 4. Hopefully my daughter doesn't listen to this in the future if she hates her name, because then she can blame me. But that was an embarrassment of riches. Boys, a little tougher. And in fact, here's the last parenting tip. If you have 2 names you like, the temptation is going to be to go, okay, I'll give one of the names as their first name and the other name as the middle name. But if you're going to have a second kid, put that other name in the back pocket, because you don't want to burn both the names on the first kid. There you go.
It's true. That's a good point. Yeah, you gotta. It's like, draft assets. You gotta make sure you use your second round picks wisely. You don't want to burn them all in on a Jimmy Butler trade. You gotta save it for a bigger goose down the line. So
yeah, you want to get Victor Oladipo and then give them away for basically nothing and have none of it make sense. You want to be like the Oklahoma City Thunder. You want to have every pick. How are the Texas Relays?
Texas Relays were good. I actually didn't watch most of it because I was kind of in the back area just hanging out with JoJo before her big race. But the beautiful day, man. I was talking to some of the coaches, and they're like, it is never this nice of running weather in Texas. Because I remember during like the West prelims when they're hosting Texas, people were just like, the heat was just brutal, and like the humidity and all that stuff. But it felt like I was in Palo Alto. type weather.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Night, no sun. It's a good time. But yeah, JoJo ran well. She ran 17:15, mixing it up
Got some wins.
with the young bucks. It's fun to watch her. It's weird. It's weird watching your significant other and once your colleague in the media running with the people that they covered. It was just like a whole weird 360 moment, but it was fun watching. We had a good time. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I saw her T-First page has been updated, so that's good. And then I'm gonna send something to Tila Stapaya to make sure that 17:14 is there. Sticking her nose in it from the gun. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I saw the splits.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago she was probably running like 18:30, and now 17:15. It's not bad. No, Pandemic brought up one good thing, right? And as a fast JoJo, so that's all that matters.
Congrats!
But
I'm looking at the weather.
Yeah, next up it's going to be hitting the roads and getting ready for a fall marathon, and I think that's where she's really going to excel. Track was more about a hobby and have fun and see what could happen, but I think the roads is the real place where we can see crazy improvement. That's the plan.
Okay.
I'm not her coach or anything. I'm just super supportive team manager. I carry her bags, hold the water bottles.
Agent? Are you the agent?
Agent. Yeah. I don't get any fees though. I don't get any fees. I guess my fees are I'll buy dinner. That's the fee I get.
Can you get her into the pre-classic?
I can't. I'm working on that one.
Okay,
I have to wait and see if they have an extra spot. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just give her my media pass, and then she just hops on the track.
I'm looking at these temperatures, man, and I have memories of the last 2 years of Texas Relays when I went in. I guess it would have been 19 and 18. And just sweating out there, it just being really, really hot. But today is only supposed to get up to 80, mid 80s, and same thing with Saturday. So warm enough for the sprinters, but not terribly uncomfortable. So if you're a distance runner, I guess you wouldn't have thought Texas is the place to go. But there were some good distance results there on the men's and women's side, and some big names.
Yeah, Isai Rodriguez ran 28:08, which is good enough to qualify. You got to think about him as a factor in the 10K outdoors. We've yet to see Isai in like a competitive championship style outdoor track race or even indoor, because he's kind of been always banged up during his outdoors and indoor seasons. But hey, 28:08, that means you'll be in it for the 10K. Over at Rally Relays, Mercy Chilangat ran 32 mid. It's pretty good. It's actually very good. She beat the whole field by like a minute. Mercy Chilangat, man. Everyone now knows. I just wish people give me a little more credit for knowing how good she was. She made shirts. I knew before you knew, or something like that. Mercy Chilangat stands. On the men's side, Yair Nagus ran 13:40, won the 5K. Nice little easy 13:40. Could we see what if Yair secretly is going to run the 5K at NCAs as a prep for 15 at trials? A little change of pace. Like him and Cole Hawker are like, let's just do the 5K. And they're like, all right. And then all the 5K runners are like, crap, what are we doing? And then two Villanova guys ran sub 340, which is, sub 340 isn't crazy, but 339 at the NCAA level is pretty good. Sean Dolan and Casey Comer. So all around some solid efforts. It's weird. NCAA running right now, it's all about just getting qualifiers for being top 32, which is going to be a storyline that we'll talk about as the season progresses, because I looked into it. There are going to be some fast people who finish like 33rd to like 48, right? I mean, I know if you're good, you'll be top 10, right? But in these distance events, it's going to be kind of wild, right? Especially in the 10K and the 5K, to see where that cutoff becomes. Because I think in the West, you could argue that it will take like 13:45 to get in, which is pretty quick. So,
didn't you have a different time last episode?
Maybe 13:42. That's what I said last time.
No, I thought you said slower, and I thought you just made it faster. So people
48. 48.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Okay,
so if you're relying on Gordon for what you need to run, maybe just run really fast.
Yeah, just run faster than what I say.
Run 13:35 or something just to be
They don't
just
think
to be
about me.
100% safe. Yeah. Yeah, you got one of your picks wrong already, which is disappointing. I think people
What was
wanted
the
to
pick I got
see.
wrong?
Well, didn't you have you had Nigus losing? Correct.
Yeah, to Christian Noble, who didn't run the race, so it doesn't count as a wrong.
You got to make sure you get your DNFs and your DNSs right, man. It's
No,
part of
no,
it. No,
man.
no, no, no.
In the
I don't. I
sport of
don't. I
track
don't
and
mark that
field,
against you.
every time someone scratches or pulls out, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
So
You get a return on your ticket. You did say Laird's gonna have a big weekend, and I saw he won he ran the fastest prelim time, so he looks pretty good for LSU. So keep an eye on Mr. Terrence Laird. All right, at the end of the show, we got some YouTube comments, a couple emails to read, but now we got to do part 2 of our bracket extravaganza on the women's side of things. Gordon, we already got Sweet 16 field for the women. We're gonna sub in their track teams and see how it goes. Again, same rules apply as last time. We're using current rosters, not all time, and we're taking the basketball bracket and just applying it to track. So here are the 16 teams: Stanford,
before we
Missouri
do
State,
this,
Oregon, Louisville, South
before we
Carolina,
do it,
Georgia Tech, Texas, Maryland, Yukon, Nope, Iowa, Michigan, Baylor, NC State, Indiana, Arizona, and Texas A&M. Would you like to say something?
yes, I want to say something. I just only know this, but
Okay, go ahead.
ESPN's bracket games and stuff. They have this thing called a second chance bracket where you get to predict the Sweet 16 to the final, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I took our podcast projection from Wednesday and I submitted that as my pick, as my bracket. So
cool.
If it works out where we get an Oregon versus Arkansas, we're gonna win money. So it's gonna be great. So that's the plan.
Okay. Well, it's funny you mentioned
that. Hey, we made this bracket based off of track teams. So
it's funny you mention that because we got an email from Tim who said at the beginning of the tourney he used similar logic in his bracket that we did last time, like with picking track teams. He says the only real difference is he leaned heavier to the distance side, but let some traditional track powerhouses such as Houston and LSU progress past some otherwise strong X-year distance programs. He said he hadn't watched a single NCAA basketball game this year, but this bracket is performing better than 92% of all ESPN brackets. My final 4 ended up being Oregon, BYU, Arkansas, and Houston, with U of O beating Arkansas in the final. He said he wanted to get on the FloTrack bracket madness, but missed the cutoff. But seeing how close this prediction came to your recent episode is a consolation prize. So there you go.
Well, BYU in the Final Four. BYU in the Final Four, it didn't work out too well, but you guys, 3 of the other guys are still there, still around, right? Arkansas.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon and Houston, right? Is that what he had?
Yep.
Yeah. So hey,
I like it. What if I told you this? What if I told you back in 1997 I entered a second chance bracket, not on ESPN, I think it was on CBS Sports, and I was a big Arizona fan, so I picked Arizona to go all the way, and I think I only got one wrong, and I won, I think, 2nd or 3rd place in the entire bracket, and I got a Bill Walton autographed basketball. What if I told you that happened to me?
I would believe you. Bill Walton autographed basketball?
True. I think it was either 2nd or 3rd place. I got one wrong. Again, I was just doing homer picks because I was an Arizona fan, and that was the year Arizona beat 3 number 1 seeds in the tourney. Oh. So they beat Kansas. They beat Kansas in the Sweet 16, and then the Final Four they beat a North Carolina team with Vince Carter and Anton Jamison, and then they beat Kentucky in the final. So basically nobody had that because why would you have Arizona winning the entire thing, beating 3 number 1 seeds? But at least one other person did because I did not win. I think first place was a Shaq basketball, and then my prize was a Bill Walton autographed basketball, which I think I'd kind of rather have a Bill Walton autographed basketball, to be honest.
I have a Shaq basketball autographed.
Oh, okay. What'd you win?
But it's like faded now. Like the signature's like gone. Because if you think about it, a marker on like a basketball, eventually just like it's gonna go away.
Yeah. You think if there's value in Top Shot, there'd be value in a Bill Walton autographed basketball, but I guess not.
People don't care about kids these days. Don't care about autographs anymore. They want selfies.
Yeah,
selfies are more valuable than an autograph.
But wouldn't you have said kids these days don't care about trading cards, and now trading cards are a thing? I guess not with kids, but with people.
We
Do you
need to get
understand
an
any of that
NFT
stuff?
business for. We need to get an NFT business for track and field.
Yeah. You have to
Non-fungible
explain to me
tokens
what
in
it is.
track. Yeah, we'll say that's another podcast. That's the baby name podcast. We'll figure that one out.
Okay, we'll do
All
50-50
right.
on that. NFTs and then
Yeah,
baby names. Here we go. First
let's do this.
matchup, Stanford versus Missouri State. Go ahead.
I mean, I think this is like this feels like a 116 seed. It's easily Stanford. They had a chance to podium on the indoor. They podium on cross country instead. Got to go with Stanford.
Yeah. Missouri State, though, I just want to give them a shout out for making it this far. If Lincoln was on the show, he'd be pumping them up a lot. Springfield, Missouri, they were sixth in the conference, Missouri Valley Conference in cross, and then fifth indoors. But you're right, Stanford advances. Next matchup in that same bracket, which, by the way, for the women's tournament, they're not doing the East, West, Midwest, South because it's all based in Texas. They have like the Alamo bracket, the Riverwalk bracket. So I'm just keeping them in their groups here, their little pods. Oregon versus Louisville. Oregon versus Louisville. Closer than you might think, Gordon.
Yeah, closer than you might think, but in the end, Oregon has the pedigree. They're going to find a way to sneak out that win. Like they both have a good individual. Kendra Chambers, is that her name?
Kemba Nelson.
Chalmers. Kemba Nelson. What? I
You
think
talk about
I
Ken-
did that same mistake.
Yeah,
I got that mistake last time. I just forgot Kemba Nelson or Kendra Nelson.
Kemba.
M.
Kemba Nelson.
Kemba, like Kemba Walker.
Yep.
She broke the collegiate record. I can't believe
Yep.
I don't know her name that well, and she broke the collegiate record. I apologize for that. So they have that easy one stick. Louisville's got some good throwers, so they kind of cancel out their sprinters. But I think there's got to be some random Oregon distance runner out there who can rack up some points over Louisville. So I got to go with Oregon.
So Stanford and Oregon advance out of that bracket. Next group, South Carolina versus Georgia Tech. South Carolina scored 10 points indoors in the high jump and the 4x4. What do you know about Georgia Tech, Gordon?
I don't know much about Georgia Tech. They have Nicole Fagans. She's a good distance runner. Georgia Tech kind of was always like that sneakily, like, hey, maybe Georgia Tech could make the NCAA cross-country meet. Or like it was a Georgia Tech versus Georgia type debate. But I do think South Carolina, they have some better sprint stars. I mean, Waylon Jonathas came from that school. So got to go with South Carolina.
South Carolina, it is. Texas versus Maryland. Texas versus Maryland. I see this as a Texas route here. They were eighth indoors, and I don't know. I haven't seen your outdoor projections, but I'm guessing the Longhorns can rack up some good points outdoors as well.
Yeah, I need to start working on those. I need to talk about that. I have been working on some U.S. top 20s, so like individual U.S. for the trials. But yeah, Texas, they take this win very easily over Maryland.
Yeah, 25 points indoors. Maryland did not score at indoors. Yukon, next bracket, Yukon versus Iowa. This is going to be a great matchup on the basketball court here with Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. But we're talking about in track terms. Yukon, second in Big East cross country, Gordon. Iowa was third in their conference meet indoors, but did not get a team score in cross country. This one could be pretty close. Who you got?
I don't know. I mean, all roads point to Iowa. But you know what? I just think that we got to have some chaos. I don't care what's going to happen. I think we get an upset. I think Yukon upsets Iowa.
Yukon upsets Iowa on the strength of that distance squad that was, again, second. I mean, if they win Big East, they probably go to the national meet.
Yeah,
correct.
Probably.
That probably would have been enough. They'd still be dancing. Okay, you have Yukon there, which on the basketball side of things would be no surprise. They'll play the winner of Michigan versus Baylor. Michigan versus Baylor. Now, we mentioned this yesterday. The Baylor women, 2 individual indoor champions in Aaliyah Miller and Akilah Nugent. They were 9th place in the meet. Michigan was second indoors in the conference. And when they went to nationals, they got 5th place in the DMR. That was their main highlight. cross country, they qualified for the meet and finished 17th. I'm leaning Baylor here. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean they were able to put. I mean, Destiny Collins transferred from Texas. She went up against JoJo in that 5K at the Texas Relays, and they were
Got the win.
neck and neck for like the first mile and a half of that 5K. Eventually, Destiny pulled away from JoJo, and then I think that's what made me realize, wow, Destiny, she's the real deal. She's able to take down JoJo. So I'm gonna go with Baylor on the backs of obviously their sprinters and Aaliyah Miller. Aaliyah Miller actually had a really good 1500 at Texas Relays. Actually, what did she close in? Did you see that split? I
saw that she ran about.
She closed in 60.
What's she run?
Yeah, she ran 4:23, but she closed in 63. Pretty impressive. So I'm gonna go with Baylor.
She's sharp right now. Yeah, Baylor moves on. They'll play Yukon, but let's do the final bracket here. Final region: NC State versus Indiana. NC State going to be tough to beat just on the power, the back of their distance runners. Second cross country overall. They also scored a few points indoors as well. Indiana was 19th in cross country and 6th in the conference meet indoors.
Whenever I'm picking March Madness women's track and field / cross country themed brackets,
yeah,
if your team has there's one rule you always got to follow, and that rule is if your team has Caitlin Toohey, they advance. So I gotta go by that rule, and NC State advances. Okay,
NC State over Indiana. Yeah, both programs put a big emphasis on distance running, and right now NC State's stronger. So that's a fair pick. Last one in the round of 16: Arizona versus Texas A&M.
I mean, you did pick Arizona to go all the way. That got you that Bill Walton autograph. I'm not sure.
That's 97.
That was a long time ago. That autograph probably is. Do you still have it? Where do you keep it? Do you keep it like in your shed or something? Where is it?
Well, so the ball was really weird. The ball was deflated. The ball was like one of those balls that's meant to be signed. Like half of it looked like a real basketball, and the other half was white, so it had like a easier spot to sign. I kept it. I've moved it from apartment to apartment to house to house. Currently, I would not be able to tell you where it is, but it was basically the whole entire ball was deflated. Much like probably this Arizona pick, because I'm going Texas A&M.
Yeah, me too. Texas A&M. Moving on.
All right. Elite Eight here. Stanford v. Oregon. Who do you got?
This is where Oregon's lack of distance showing up, lack of recent good distance runners coming up to bite them. I mean, Oregon didn't even run 5 women at the Pac-12 championships, right? They didn't even get a finished score. Right. So I got to go with Stanford here. They get the win over Oregon, changing of the guard in the Pac-12. Time for Stanford.
South Carolina versus Texas. South Carolina versus Texas. Strength on strength in some of their events.
Yeah. Texas, though, they're good. They're better than what their finish was at indoors, I feel. I think they'll probably be a better outdoor team. Tara Davis, she's jumping out of her mind. They got some good all-around sprinters, some field events. So you got to go with Texas.
Yukon versus Baylor.
Telling you.
Baylor.
They're doing good. They got the champions, and they got some diverse talent from short distances all the way up to the 10K. Got to go with Baylor.
NC State, Texas A&M. I think that's where NC State's run ends. Correct?
But there's that Caitlin Toohey rule, right? And the question is, can you apply the rule twice? And I think in this case you can't.
What about the Tyra Gittens rule?
Yeah, I got that. The Tyra Gittens overrules the Caitlin Toohey, and the Thingmo overrules the Kelsey Camille rule. So yeah, gotta go with Texas A&M.
Okay, so then our final four: Stanford, Texas, Baylor, Texas A&M. we'll just keep going in order. Stanford versus Texas. Stanford versus Texas.
I just feel like Stanford is good at track because like they're able to kind of go heavy on the distance that no one else is really doing because they have all those good milers and 3K, 5K. But when you really think about it, it's 18 events. Texas is just more born and bred to be a all-around track school, so you got to go with Texas.
Okay, Texas goes to the championship where they will face Baylor or Texas A&M.
So, this is the
now you
Leah
apply
Miller
the Thing Mo rule.
Leah Miller, a Thing Mo. Speaking of a Thing Mo, she was supposed to race a Leah Miller in the 1500 at Texas Relays, but she decided to pull a DNS on us, a do not start. I think this comes down to Texas A&M putting a Thing Mo in her actual best event, which is the 800, so that they can finally use her to defeat an Leah Miller. Therefore, Texas A&M moves on. So
Okay,
Texas
so
A&M versus Texas.
Yeah, a Texas battle here. Are you going to go event by event again like you did with the men and break this down?
We could.
Between Texas and Texas A&M?
Well, here's the thing about this. We actually are going to know. So maybe you know what? There is a Texas A&M versus Texas dual meet happening in a few weeks. We literally have.
Okay, so TBD,
what I'm going to do is we're TBDing this. We're actually going to have the actual March Madness women's track and field themed bracket result winner be chosen for us. We're just going to see it on the track. When do they compete? We'll find out what day this is.
I'm looking it up right.
It is
I'm looking
this weekend, the next weekend, April 3rd. So April 3rd, next weekend, we will crown our March Madness women's track and field theme bracket. Texas A&M versus Texas. It's being hosted in Texas. I mean, I'm just hoping it's hosted in Texas. It's being hosted in Austin, so I'm sure I'll go to the meet and I'll ask the coaches. So, like, what's your starting five? I'll ask them all about the importance of how does it feel to win the FloTrack bracket challenge, all this stuff. So they'll be
yeah. That was great promo for that meet, by the way.
Yeah, you're
welcome.
You
almost think that was planned by you,
Longhorn Network. Yeah. It wasn't
you really
planned.
left the breadcrumbs there. All the breadcrumbs led
if you want to find out
Texas
wins my bracket. Yeah. There you go.
Do you think? I wonder if that'd be interesting though if both those teams are still in by next week too.
Ooh, yeah.
What's the women's Final Four schedule? Could they actually be playing each other in basketball?
I feel like they'll probably. Well, maybe it'll be cool if we have this result.
Timing's all weird,
right? Yeah, timing's all weird because of COVID. But if we have this result, and then we do get a Texas versus Texas A&M final, and then we can tweet out like the T1 results. Hey, we already know who's going to win.
Yeah.
And how crazy would it be if the score is the same too? Could that be possible? Could a dual meet track score be the same as a basketball game? I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, I think. Well, it'd have to be a high-scoring basketball game. So Texas is a 6 seed. Texas, that for them to get there, they'd have to pull some upsets. They are in the same region as South Carolina, who's number 1. So they'd have to beat Maryland, number 2, and then beat South Carolina, that's number 1. This is gonna be tricky. Man, I'm excited. There's a lot of good
track teams. South Carolina lost Waylon Jonathan, so we're good. We're good. It applies to basketball as well.
So the men, man, this is interesting. So they got because ordinarily the Sweet 16 would have been yesterday and today, but that all got pushed to this weekend. Correct? So
yeah, it's because they're all staying in a hotel, so they want to kind of just do in a weird. Yeah, they can take away a travel day because they know they're already there and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just gonna be a good hoops weekend is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
and then into next week as well too. When I'm hanging out at the hospital, if I have a moment, I'll just flip on the TV and watch some hoops.
Hey, honey,
okay, there you go. So that one's a team.
Checking your scores.
Yeah, she likes hoops as well too. Okay, there we go. So we have not the winner, but we have the final two that will be decided literally on the track. next week. Good job, Gordon, for coming up with that one. Okay, should I read some of these YouTube comments here? Travis sent
Go
these
for it.
along. Do you like this segment or do you not like?
No, that's good. We
Okay.
should always. We need people to like and subscribe, so we got to read their comments if we want them to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay.
It's part of the game.
Is that how? All right. Let's see. Let's go through these here. Man, hold on. Sorry, I'm all out of sorts here.
You're not prepared.
Here we go. No, I got him right here. All right. YouTube comments here. Gregory says, I hope Gordon's obsession with Abby Steiner would end with her winning the 200. Should have known it would translate to now him arguing for her to win every track athlete of the year, Bowerman, etc., until she graduates.
Yo, speaking of Bowerman, I already have beefs with that. So Bowerman watch lists announced their post indoor watch list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was an athlete who was on it and an athlete who wasn't on it, and it baffled me.
Okay.
They put Trey Cunningham on it, who got third or fourth in the 60 hurdles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't put Wesley Kiptoo, who ran out of his mind in the 5K. How's that possible?
The watch lists aren't binding, correct?
No, but if you come out of that meet, I think Wesley Kiptoo would be in your top 10 for track athlete of the year over Trey Cunningham.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. All right, we'll keep it moving here on YouTube comments. I get you.
Sorry.
I get you. I know. I'm just.
You open up the floodgates with the Bowerman talk. Sorry.
Hey, that was a YouTube comment here. Comparing track to the NBA for awards is dumb because basketball is a team sport and track is an individual sport. I know there's a team element involved, but you don't have to rely on your teammates to win races, whereas basketball players do to win games. True, but we're just going to compare everything to basketball when we get the chance because we enjoy it. Alex says everyone that joined FloTrack bracket needs compensation for this year's craziness.
Compensation? This guy's making a demand? Have his people talk to my people.
There you go. Okay, so
I mean, it was pretty crazy. Loyola Chicago. What if Oral Roberts makes it all the way? How crazy would that be?
Who's winning? Oh wait, we updated it last time. There hasn't been any games. Never mind. Okay, so Travis posted the thing about me betting my house that Noah Lyles wins gold next to a picture of a large house that is definitely not mine, just for the record. I want people to know that's not my house. Someone said Sifan Hassan is a far better bet. She delivers when it counts, regardless of the competition. I would not bet my house on Sifan Hassan because there's number one, we don't know what event she's going to be in,
and she recently lost.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, Helen O'Berry is still there. If she drops down to 1,500, Faith Kipyegon is still there. I guess with her, maybe you get two for the price of one because she's probably going to get into events. But yeah, she's shown her vulnerability. Someone else said, watch out for Stephen Gardner in the 200 against Lyles. But obviously, Lyles is a big favorite over Gardner, and he's more of a 400-meter guy.
Yeah, Gardner's
400. He's a 400 guy. Okay, who will win the men's 5K outdoors? Someone wants to talk about the 800 instead. Dylan says 800 with Dixon, Charlie Hunter, Chalky Hadeli, Isaiah Jewett, and Carlton Orange will have a crazy 800 race where 5 guys can go sub 146, and there's others who can be in that category as well. You agree with that?
Well, you forgot to mention Festus Legat. So
Festus Legat. How do we forget? What do you think? Sub 146?
Yeah, but I think what we need, I think now with the rise of what we've seen with the Donovan Braziers of this world, I think I'm not really impressed with the fast 800 final unless we're seeing 144s. 145s isn't that. I think we've developed over the years to make 145s more normal, where I think to win races you run 144, to win all-time races you run 143. That's what I think.
Got another one here on the 5K here. I'm gonna go Mance, Grijalva, Hawker, Eamon Kemboy, Nico Young, Morgan Beatlescombe, one of the Notre Dame guys, and Casey Klinger in scoring position. The Iowa State guys will focus on the 10K and might be burnt out from the double. That's a bold pick
It's a
there.
bold take.
No Iowa
Say
State
no
guys.
Iowa State.
No Iowa State guys.
The
from
two
this is
previous
from OKONH0WP. Send all your complaints to him, Ames. Yeah. Someone said shout out Fog Dog.
I'm willing to bet my
fourth in the
house.
mile.
I'm willing to bet my house that both both Iowa State guys score in the 5K. I'm willing to bet my house on that.
Well, you don't have a house, so I mean,
I
no spoiler alert.
I have a picture of a house. So I can bet the photo, NFT it. You know.
Get Travis to Photoshop you in one of those Cribs houses. Okay, yeah, I think that's. Perfect. Are those all? I'm trying to see if there's any other ones that he sent along here. Someone liked that you mentioned Adam Fogg in your rant about running fast, and they said shout out to Fog Dog. So there you go.
That's what you call it, Fog Dog. I like that.
Yeah, it's what it says. I mean, that's a good nickname, right?
Yeah, Drake's sort of Bulldogs, right? Fog Dog, the Bulldog. Dude, so much dog going on.
It's good.
I love that.
Okay, we got this email as well too. I wanted to read. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. You're in charge of the podcast.
Well, Justin, who begrudgingly, who sent along the Arkansas schedule about the Hayward meet that set off Gordon on that rant. He followed up. He said, "Thanks for the rant. As a former media member, an issue I have is the very short heads up we get about track event. It affects media too. Not everyone can drop what they're doing and run out to cover a big time event. Most already have work plans for the weekend, 2 weeks out, a month out. So those original plans happen and the track events get less coverage by mass media, maybe a simple tweet or a last second mention in the sports block of the local news at best." That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's funny.
No one wants to hear us complain.
Oregon announced their schedule after the rant.
Do you think it was related?
Right? I think it was. No, it wasn't. Anyway, what were you saying? I interrupted you. I'm being rude.
No, I'm saying if when we eventually go to the podcast being live, you can just attribute anything you say in the podcast to what happens in reality. Of like, hey, I said that at 9:15 a.m. and by 9:18 there was a tweet. Must have been me. They listen to the show. Just your opinion of yourself can get bigger and bigger. I was just going to mention the that no one really wants to hear the media complain. So like we're not, and you weren't complaining from a media perspective. You were just talking about it from a general interest fan perspective. Say you live in a city nearby and want to check out the meet if possible, or you want to follow the team or just know what's going on. It's not that far away. It's not as if we're talking about a meet in the middle of August or something. This is a meet that's coming up in a couple weeks. And some schools do a better job of it than others. And obviously COVID has presented some challenges, but this is not, you're right. It's not just related to one school or one even level, because this happens at the pro level. This happens in college, everything.
Yep.
Everywhere. So there we go.
I mean, and if you think about it, I know that schedule thing, actually, people on the World Athletics recognize that. I mean, they talk about when they created this like continental tour stuff, like silver, bronze, and gold. They wanted to do that because they recognize, hey, our sport shouldn't survive off of pop-up meets. It should be survive off of like established. These are World Athletics level track and field meets. And so obviously you had the Diamond League, but Diamond League wasn't enough because Diamond League, like, all right, yeah, you have that, but that's like, how many people are Diamond League eligible, right? You need to have the so that's the whole point of the Continental Tour. Speaking of the Continental Tour, it's all live and flow. So all the gold meets live and flow in Australia, Canada, and the US. Get ready for that. It's going to be a good time. That starts in like what, May? Some Continental Tour action. We need to come up with we need to come up with a Continental Tour segment. Like some like, should we have like, we could like have like a continental breakfast and like we talk very like, very like that Jordan and Peele sketch. That'll be fun.
Key and Peele?
Key and Peele. Jordan and Peele. Key and Peele,
Just go buy the worst Danishes and the most watered down orange juice you can find and we make picks. on who's going to win
Yeah.
while eating the bad danishes and the watered down orange juice, I'm for it. Yeah. And then like the cream cheese that comes in the little singular units that you never see anywhere other than at a hotel with the continental breakfast. Yeah, let's do it. It is frustrating. The other part that's frustrating, and some athletes recognize this because they'll say, "I'm going to tell you where I'm competing," as if it's this big initiative, like this huge undertaking. But there's so many athletes out there who are reluctant to tell you their race schedule. And maybe a lot of it's just because financial reasons, like they haven't locked in a race because this meet director hasn't figured this out or the agent hasn't figured that out. But the net result is never knowing where an athlete competes, even the most high profile, down to the just last person who gets into these Diamond League races or even Continental Tour type races. It's really horrible to follow if you never know who's running where, and athletes are never saying it. Like they'll say race week and they'll put a thing on Instagram. You're like, what race? And you never post about this. You didn't just figure out on Monday that you're racing on Saturday. That didn't happen. There's too much planning, especially at those higher levels. Like you didn't just stumble into it. Oh, I was going through the internet and I saw that there was this community 5K and I just decided to sign up. No, like there was thought that went into that, but I think people, they're just hesitant to do it. I don't know if it's because they don't want to commit to things or if they don't want to be held account if they drop out later. But the net result is pretty tough for fans to follow, like where people are competing and when they should be. Like Justin said, when should you plan on watching? When should you try to clear your calendar? Oh, hey, this meet's going to be good because my favorite athlete's competing. None of that is considered.
Yeah. I mean, not to, I could go on another rant about something else, but I'll save that for another time, another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest barrier, people think the barrier is, dare I say it, a paywall, but the biggest barrier is structure. That's honestly the biggest, like, when the basketball games are, that Zion Williamson is going to play this person, when they're hurt, how long they're going to be hurt for. Like you're told 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. And all this stuff, there's just so much structure. And the reason why there's structure is because the same meet director is in charge of every basketball game. The same meet director is in charge of every football game. It's a different meet director all over the world, different languages, different, it's just not, and it's just different meet director for every
shoe company.
Different
There's so many people
shoe
involved.
Companies. Yeah, and none of them are all on the same like mindset of like the same goal. All their goals are like their individual goal of their athlete or their meet or this, that, the other thing. And like to be honest, the only way I think the sport would get closer to being easier to like, I think the best the sport could ever get, which just will never happen, would be literally World Athletics being the meet director of every major track meet, and it all being connected, it all being like, if you want to be in this meet, you got to do this many races, like it just being super like hands-on the way the NBA is super hands-on on all their basketball games. But you're not going to get that because that's a huge financial commitment that probably doesn't have a return on investment and all that stuff. They kind of, World Athletics likes just being the governing body, and this meet director is willing to spend $20,000 of its own money to try to put on a meet, and not, oh yeah, here's a waiver or whatever, here's a voucher of $500 here and there, whatever. But that's the main problem. It's all segmented. And it's segmented by different people, different teams, agents, athletes, all this stuff. So that's the main problem. But that's also track and field. Track and field isn't designed the way a regular season of a major sport is. So, yeah, I don't know. But that's what you need. You need,
a lot of these things I cut track slack for because I think it's the most difficult sport to manage. And I know, hey,
true.
I probably have that opinion because it's the only one that I cover. 24/7. But you look at the challenges of track, they just don't exist in most sports and maybe any sport, at least at this level, because you have so many events in one. It involves so many different countries in one, so many different types of events that need different sorts of approaches, because you could prescribe one solution that would really work for a field event that may not be applicable to distance. And then there you go. The thing that you wanted to centralize, Gordon, that you wanted to have complete control over, well, then it sort of breaks apart because, well, but this doesn't really make sense for the 200, right? Or this doesn't make sense for the steeple. And then there you get back to the original problem, which is, okay, let's just let everybody do what's in their own best interest. And then when you do that, you end up with this result. But I'm with you. The way forward is for the best people to compete more frequently and to communicate that to the public and to create some sort of coherent narrative and buy-in of why they should be interested in all these meets. And a lot of good people do compete frequently, but they're not competing at the same place at the same time. And having someone overseeing that makes a whole lot of sense. Someone who's looking out for the whole entity as opposed to just a certain event group or a certain athlete.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll end with this, but there was a tweet by Clayton Murphy where his tweet told the quiet part out loud, the secret part out loud about why our sport will never be at the same level as a major sport. He tweeted this a few days ago. In 90 days, you got to be top 3 at the Olympic trials. It doesn't matter what you've done, who you are, or how you do it. You just have to be top 3. So to be honest, nothing else matters until Eugene in June. That phrase, to be honest, he's an Olympic medalist.
He's 100% right.
One of our
100% right.
Top runners in the nation. And he said, nothing else matters until Eugene in June. He basically said the quiet part out loud is our sport doesn't matter except for one race. And how is that sustainable? Like, that's why we have people time trialing here and just needing to doing their own thing and not feeling the need to talk about the full set schedules. People dodging all this is because he just said it. It's true. And the reason why nothing else matters, he's right, and he should play that game, because if he doesn't play that game, he'll be on the outside looking in, not making the Olympics. But the reason why nothing else matters is because we created a sport that only has one important event, which is the global championship. And until we figure out the way to create a sport where there isn't just one thing and nothing else matters, I mean, even in, like, yeah, you could say that, like, but the thing is about, like, in football, the only thing that matters is winning a Super Bowl, true, but you can't just, like, wait for February and enter the Super Bowl and then play. Like, in order to get to the Super Bowl, you need to have a consistency of showing up consistently for an entire 3-month period, then show up consistently for high-pressure events like the playoffs for, like, another month period, and then you get to go. Like, you can't just run one race in the middle of nowhere in the woods, run 12:58, then do nothing, and then show up. And that's considered a season. Like, imagine if in order to get to the Olympics, it wasn't just a standard or just a trial, one trial race, right? It was like you had to go through a gauntlet of 5 months of being on top of your game in order to get to that moment, but that'll never happen. Yeah, he said the quiet part. Nothing else matters until June. Maybe we should recognize we should make July matter and September matter and May matter.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a way to do that with still keeping the trials in the Olympics, because you're right, they're not going away. There's a way to just make them matter more than they do now, and maybe it's just putting a huge financial incentive into competing more frequently, because doing the things that you talked about before, where there's a little bit more control, where who's going to show up, when, and against who. Like, that's where you're never going to have a 3 months qualification period for a meet because it's just not how track works at any level, right? Middle school, high school, like it's all about kind of showing up in the postseason and qualifying through. But what you can do on the pro side of things is create enough financial incentive to where people show up and run in more interesting meets, so that way we at least have stuff to talk about. And fans can get engaged, and their fans have a reason to tune into a meet in March and April and not just wait until the Olympic trials.
Like, this may be, I mean, athletes might not like this, but let's say how much do you get if you win Worlds? What's like the prize bonus? What do you get? Let's just make up a number. Man, it's probably not a lot. Let's say it's $100,000. Imagine they're like, all right, you don't get $100,000 for winning Worlds. You win $25,000 for winning Worlds Part 1, $25,000 for winning Worlds Part 2. You call it differently. You don't call it that, but basically divide Worlds into 4. So therefore, in order for them to get the full $100,000, they got to win 4 championship meets. AKA a major system that I've been talking about. The way you win the Masters, then win the U.S. Open, win the British Open, and PGA, whatever. So Wimbledon, all that
60K. 60K for gold, 30K for this was 2019. You know what?
And I also
joked about
this. Think about it. That's probably less than what they're getting sponsored. They probably make more money just in their sponsorship than in prize money. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about this before, and this is another basketball tie-in. So for those of you who don't like the hoops,
there we go.
I apologize, but this is the first time I thought of this. I think so. This could be completely off base, but you and I were talking off pod a couple weeks back about the dunk contest, and the only way you'll get people to go into the dunk contest, big names into the dunk contest, because right now it's mostly people that are not big names, is to just throw down a huge amount of money, right?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, the dunk contest winner gets 10 million, I don't know, whatever the number would be.
5 million.
5 million, 10 million, whatever. Yeah. And then you could do it to charity, or they could keep whatever. You could figure out something to where it's like, all right, now all the big stars, the people the fans want to see dunk will compete. With someone, we go back in time a little bit to Bolt, because obviously he was the big star. But it almost seems that's what had to happen for Bolt to show up to meets towards the end of his career. It's like, who can come up with the most ridiculous? Because you saw some of the meets he would compete in, right? And it wasn't always Diamond Leagues. Some of the stuff was lower tier meets, but it was the places where they could throw down whatever, $250,000 for an appearance fee. And I wonder if that's if track is more similar to luring people to the dunk contest than any other sport, than any other part of team sports. Like, that's the most analogous thing of, like, they just need to get a huge chunk of money out there, or relative to their salary, right? Not obviously $5 million, $10 million, not realistic, but as a percentage of their salary or their sponsorship deal, like, you need to get that offered to people for these May, June, whatever races, so that they compete against each other. Because the element of a season isn't enough. The element of Diamond League points is not enough. It just needs to be money.
Yeah,
you think that's?
But the problem
is there anything to that?
Yeah, but the problem is, how do you get that money? The money doesn't grow on trees. Like, the NBA is $1 billion industry. World athletics is not a $1 billion industry. So they need you got to figure out, how do you make money?
I'm just wondering if the mindset is similar.
Sponsors. Just use sponsors, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry, but sponsors don't just give out money because they are a sponsor. They do it because they think they're going to make a return on their investment. But
anyway. Like, why do people not? Why does I'm trying to think of who would be awesome in the dunk contest right now. Who would be awesome in the dunk contest right now? If you could see anybody in the dunk contest.
I mean, we want to see LeBron.
Okay.
Even though he's old, but I would want to. Zion Williamson.
Yeah, Zion. Okay, let's take Zion.
Imagine that. Old versus new. Oh, that'd be crazy. Just them doing
it.
That's all.
But what's the reason why they say they don't do it, right? The reason is like risk of embarrassment. That's what you hear, right? Because you have so much to lose.
Well, they
at
don't
that
say
point.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe risk of health. But in
Right.
reality, it's risk of embarrassment.
Right. But it's risk in general. Isn't that the same reason why we don't see more people race, and is particularly more people race against rivals in their event? I'm not
Risk of
quite
a loss,
ready.
yeah.
I don't want to take a
Yeah.
loss, or the health thing, right? All those things are part of it, but it's all risk assessment basically. It's
Yeah.
cost
It's
benefit,
true.
and but then someone says, okay, would you take this risk for $5 million? And then they say, my knee's feeling a little bit better. I think I can do a couple dunks. I think I can try. I think I can risk losing at this point. Um, yeah. So that's where I see a loose connection, but maybe a connection to what we're dealing with here. Again, the amount of money is never going to rival it, but I'm just talking about if you can put together something that is like would have that much impact on their bottom line.
You know what would actually be good that World Athletics should really do is they should get sit down with the running marketer person for like the major brands, Nike, Adidas, Puma, New Balance, and sit them in a room and talk to them and be like, I know they may not want it, but like, be like, all right, how do you incentivize your athletes? Because they all have a contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
The athletes
Yeah.
are basically doing what Nike tells them to do, what Adidas tells them to do. We saw them jog random races because Nike told them you got to run 10 times, right?
Yeah.
But they, and I guarantee all these contracts, they are told you are only valuable to us when you make Olympic teams and world teams. So therefore, they're like, okay, I'm not valuable for them by showing my face all the time throughout the entire year. I am valuable to them by being top 3. And so therefore, if everyone is doing that, it forces everyone to do segmentation and all that stuff. But if World Athletics said, all right, we want you to tell these to incentivize athletes to do this instead. If you incentivize them that it's about collecting wins. Like imagine if it's like you get paid per win and not per making a team, then it'd be like, oh, I need a race. If an athlete is told they get like $10,000 for every time they beat a ranked athlete or something like that, like a certain caliber athlete, do you think they're gonna just wait till the trials to run? No, they're gonna be like, all right, let's get together and run because one of us is gonna make some money. Let's go. Let's Eric Sawinski this thing up and start running, right? And I think then World Athletics would get a lot more. They'll be able to see them racing each other and it'll be easier to market and people will be like excited about it and there'll be more opportunities. It all basically Nike, Adidas, Puma, and New Balance are the ones who are making the sport the way they are. And if World Balance and maybe Nike, they're like, well, we just care about the Olympics. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So then therefore maybe World Athletics should be paying the major sponsors to change their contracts to then make their athletes, because World Athletics isn't paying the athletes. It's Nike paying the athletes. It's Adidas paying the athletes. World Athletics gives them prize money occasionally, but we got to go to the source. Right. And the source is Nike, Adidas. Hey man, if all of a sudden it was, we don't care if you make the Olympics, we just want you to win multiple times at if it's number of Continental Tour wins, they would be like every Continental Tour meet, those 50 meets would be stacked because everyone would be like, let's go make some money.
Yeah.
But instead it's like,
well, you're right,
top 3 in the one race a year.
Yeah. Well, when I brought up Bolt earlier, that's kind of weird, right? That's kind of weird because there's not another Bolt.
Yeah.
There's Bolt, and he can make this huge income outside of it. The Sawinski model is way more common. Like there's more athletes like Sawinski than there are like Usain Bolt, and you've seen that. You don't see it as much as I would probably expect of people just going and racing a ton because they're trying to cobble together a life, right? They're trying to make a living in the sport. They're trying to get to next year and they're trying to move on. And there's been a couple athletes that I've noticed throughout the years who just all of a sudden one year you see it, they're racing all over the globe because they figured out where, okay, there's prize money. I can go here and then I can go here and then this is going to help me there. But yeah, writ large, there's not. It's just this huge emphasis on on top 3 or bust. So basically, you're saying try to just incentivize Diamond League, Continental Tour type victories, so then those races get flooded with really good people.
Yeah. And it's not World Athletics saying, here, there's prize money, come here. They're like, you're not my boss. Nike's my boss.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me,
Yeah.
go top 3 or you're fired. So like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're going to listen. I mean, that's basically what they do. They basically tell if you're told we will fire you unless you're not top 3, are you going to bother, like we said, taking the risk of doing this meet and that meet? No, you're going to be like, all right, shit. That's the only, I just cursed. I'm not supposed to curse anymore. All right, I'll do whatever that leads towards the top 3. And sometimes it works, right? Because it's like a buildup and it kind of falls into structure. But if Nike said, but Nike does that because I think the more and more we think about it, I think those running apparels, there's so much, we created such a prestige to global championships.
Yeah.
The brands don't care about who wins the Hoka Lolo Classic or whatever. They care about things that are called USA Champion, World Champion.
It could be both, right? But it could be both. They could still incentivize top 3, but also say, hey, there's going to be some incentive to win, not just show up, but to win these other meets that aren't the Olympics or the Olympic trials. And maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a way to promote them more throughout the year by doing that, right? Get their races in front of more and more people. Get their logo in front of more and more people. Interesting thought there. You left me with a lot to ponder during my week away. So I thank you for that, Gordon. The email address is flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. You can write to Gordon, who's not going to cuss anymore. We got a email that said, hey, Gordon, don't cuss. They said both of us, but I don't remember cussing, so I'm just going to pin that one on you if I ever did. We're not trying to get the E rating here, but we'll leave it there.
The podcast's just going to be me next week. See how I do. Hopefully.
You got some guests lined up, I heard. You got some guests lined up. Okay.
Got some popular guests, yeah. So
some popular guests. Right, I was dragging this thing down. Yeah, subscribe to the YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter at FloTrack Podcast. Thanks to Alon for producing. I wish you all the best.
There's the music
next week. Gordon.
Good luck with the birth.